Hello and welcome to the Fellowship Phase, an Adventures in Middle-earth podcast. I'm Josh and that's Callum. We're going to give you inside information on how to find your own path through Tolkien's world.
He had hardly sat down when there came a soft knock at the front door. Lobelia again, most likely, he thought. She must have thought of something really nasty, and have come back to say it again. It can wait. He went on with his tea. The knock was repeated, much louder, but he took no notice. Suddenly, the wizard's head appeared at the window. "If you don't let me in, Frodo, I shall blow your door right down your hole and out through the hill."
Hello, Callum!
Hello. Hello.
I had to mute my microphone because I knew I was going to laugh when you said that.
I love playing wizards in or Lord of the Rings 5th edition. It's oh man. It's so much fun to be silly and have fun in games, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the reason that our narrative segment this week was about Gandalf coming to Bilbo's house is because we played, a massive session in person of role-playing games.
It was a
unexpected party.
A long expected party?
Oh, you're so right.
Oh, no, Josh.
What's unexpected from an unexpected?
Nothing was unexpected. It had been months in the planning. It was very expected.
No, but in the book, there's something that's an unexpected something or other.
Is there?
Well, I hope so.
Because otherwise, right in front of me, so I'm going to look at.
Oh no, dear listener, I'm about to.
A long expected party, Chapter 1, Book 1.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm going to read through all the chapter titles.
Please don't. He actually is as well. I can actually look at him looking at the list of. Look, let's do. Let's
not dwell on our
episode.
mistakes, but celebrate our successes. And oh, what a success it was!
It was indeed. For context, the non-Adventures Middle-earth game we've been playing, as many of you know, is Curse of Strahd. We are coming to the conclusion. Curse of Strahd. We're coming to the conclusion of the campaign, and so several months ago we said, because the party in real life are spread around the country, we were like, why don't we agree a date, a weekend, to meet up in person? We'll all gather at Callum's house and we'll spend the whole weekend playing role-playing games, because then there's, no other distractions. We can be completely dedicated for the whole time. Plus, there was lots of stuff we had organized for it. That was last weekend, and honestly, I think we're both agreed, one of the best weekends we've ever had.
Yeah, it's just so luxurious and fun and enjoyable. It sped by, and we were coming on to record this evening about Adventures in Middle-earth, and we were chatting about the benefits of in-person and the benefits online, because I think there's benefits to both. It's not like one is inherently better than the other, or maybe that's not the right way of putting it, but there's reasons for both, and we thought we'd have a little bit of a debate about the relative merits and detractors for online versus in-person games. Because we've never played Adventures in Middle-earth. We've played one shot of Adventures in Middle-earth in person with a small group in person.
Yes, we played. You lore mastered for Stuart and me, and we did a one shot, which I must say was excellent. It was a very different vibe, and I think partly that was from having just two players. I think having a much smaller group has a very different vibe, whether it's in person or online.
Yeah, it was quite an intense session for you two, because I was leaning on you both to drive the narrative, but it was the Grey Company, the first part of their journey towards helping Aragorn, and it was really fun. But then we have otherwise only ever played online, which I think is quite unusual. I guess we are like a COVID baby of RPGs, and
yeah,
correct term. The So yes, I think our default has been running games online using, video conferencing software and Roll20. And so playing in person, particularly for that period of time, was quite novel and new and different. And yeah, so I guess maybe we should start with what's good about in person, what we found different about it.
Wait.
Oh,
Stop the presses. The reason that I thought it was an unexpected party is because chapter 1 of The Hobbit is an unexpected party.
oh shit.
Mic drop.
Oh my god. Oh, oh wow. So you're the Hobbit and I'm Lord of the Rings. I think that's fair. I think you prefer the
I think
Hobbit.
that is
I prefer Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
that's an accurate description.
yeah. With two parts, we come together. Wow. Well, I retract any sort of negativity about your knowledge, Josh. You're reinstated as co-host of this podcast.
Phew. Okay, so we're going to talk about online and we're going to talk about in person. Why don't
That was
we
the
run
best
through a bit?
noise I've ever heard.
Phew. Why don't we run through?
I'm making the chaos today.
What did we actually do in person? So let's set the scene. So we were going to play in person, and we had the whole of Saturday and Sunday. We broke it up into basically 4 sessions. We played morning and afternoon both days, and we did a promise, in case our parents are listening to this. We did go outside, we did eat, and we did do all those normal self-care things. The night before, you and I and James set your living room up. So you actually have a custom interactive tabletop, which you created, a TV set into a table.
It was.
So we added
talk
that
about
up.
that a lot. It's amazing. And it's very cheap.
It really is. So what had you done? You'd converted it so that it could actually sit on top of your
So I bought
dining table.
Very summary. I bought a £16 table from IKEA. I cut a big hole in the middle that fitted the size of the TV. Then I screwed some bits of wood underneath the table to hold the TV on. Spray painted the whole thing black. And it was one of those like really cheap white IKEA tables with the screw-in legs. And I was like, how am I going to make the legs shorter? And then I just bought some tiny little like 5 centimeter legs from a homeware store, put them on the table, and now it sits on top of my dining table. And it works really well. And just plug an HDMI cable into it to your laptop. And then what we did was I had my laptop open as a player on Roll20, and then you had your laptop because I guess we've got all the assets and maps and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how you found that as a DM, but I guess having the Roll20 module, or if I was running Adventures in Middle Earth, I've got loads of maps set up already.
Yeah.
And I think that made a big difference actually, because it meant, I don't know how you, but like for me as a player, I felt so invested in the maps and like the way it was laid out, and you were able to put the big map of Barovia or the battle maps.
Yeah, it was cool. And it did mean that the transition from playing online to playing in person didn't mean we had to get all new stuff and I actually had to get and print or draw maps because we use them already. And actually using that tabletop was a good way of kind of transitioning over. And I certainly found there was a lot less kind of manual labor for me organizing things on Roll20, because what we did was once the map was on the screen, we actually put minis of the characters on, which you had 3D printed, so custom minis for each of the characters.
Quite an extra weekend, I guess, wasn't it?
It was a very extra weekend. Other extra things that we did, you got a black tablecloth and red chair covers so we could go for a proper gothic horror dinner party. We had wine plays a big part of Curse of Strahd, and there are some actual bottles from the campaign. You guys, as a gift, had kindly custom made some wine with the labels on, so we put them on the table. We got roses and put them on the table. It was very gothic horror, which I think added to it. It got us really in the mood for it all, and it made it feel quite special. In terms of kind of the mechanically what was different, I suppose the big thing about using online, which we do, is that we get very used to the format, which is you've got the screen up. It will always be showing a map, whether it's an area map, region map, or a battle map. Tokens, top down. You can measure things. I think it kind of frames the game in a certain way.
Yeah,
which
it makes it very metric. It makes it very,
that
you can measure everything, you can be exact. And I think, it's the antithesis, I guess, of theatre of the mind, where things are abstracted and like good enough. Whereas online can lead you into this thing of like, well, extra 5 feet of movement, I can do exactly this and plan out your move to the
Yeah,
minute detail.
yeah, absolutely. I think the TV was a good bridge, although we could have done it.
Yeah, I've got loads of blank paper and pens and stuff, so we could have just done a gridded paper, which I think
Which
we've
is
done.
how I used to run it. It's how I used to run it when I ran in person before COVID. When I was first into it, was had actually a whiteboard, and I used to draw maps onto it. I became frustrated doing it because I wasn't great. I could copy the kind of maps out onto a grid, but they weren't particularly artistic, and I became frustrated that they didn't look as good as
Mm,
they could, which is something that the interactivity kind of takes out of things. But what do you think pros and cons are? Now that we had a big session of doing it in person, I personally found the experience more enjoyable. And I think maybe what prompted us to actually do this episode was I said I think the quality of the play, both role play and combat, was better than when we play online. And I have a couple of thoughts about why. But what do you think?
completely agree. I think in person is if you can do it and get everyone together, it's just so much more engaging. There's all that
Yes.
non-verbal behavioral skills stuff that is playing into it, in terms of how you communicate with the other players, with the DM, but also there's more than one channel of communication happening at once. So,
Yes.
you're maybe speaking to one player and it's their turn in battle, or there's some RP moment going on, and I can catch eyes of another player, or I can have a very quiet whispered conversation as long as I'm not sort of interrupting. There's definitely like table etiquette, and actually there was no online. I think at the beginning, sometimes there's a bit like crosstalk and but we didn't have any table, and maybe that just comes from being a really established group and we all know each other well now. But
No.
there was no issues with like people talking over each other. Like it was really easy actually. I couldn't find any source of like tension or difficulty with that.
No, and something else I think about online, the challenge is that really video conferencing does not lend itself to more than one microphone being
Yeah,
used. So you really can't talk. And there's no way of whispering other than typing, which can be quite cumbersome. And
it depends
talking
what
and typing.
device you're on. And the other thing is like one thing I just realized now, and I hadn't really thought about, is that Scott's internet connection is really bad. So normally
Yep.
he plays with the camera off. And actually just seeing
Yes.
Scott's face is so good.
Yeah, it's true. And what a difference it makes being able to see someone's face about when you're role playing with them,
Yeah.
because all those facial expressions that like either they're about to finish speaking or they're about to start speaking, and you want to bring your bit to a close. There's just the body language and human interaction is easier. Something else I noticed was when we play online, we normally play for about 3 to 3.5 hours, and we normally take a sort of 10-minute break about halfway through, depending on what's going on, for nip to loo, get something to eat or drink, whatever. What that can sometimes mean, though, is that, and we're all obviously in different places, different things going on, is sometimes I know I do, and I wonder if other people do, you're kind of hoping the break comes sooner because you need to get up and do, or you want to get up and get something,
Yeah.
or whatever, but you can't because we're all online together,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
breaks down if you do that. But sometimes it gives me the sense of like I'm kind of want
Oh,
I kind of want people to hurry up a little bit, or maybe
really?
I want to hurry through things because I don't know. I want to. Maybe the dog, needs some food or something.
Yeah, you
Whereas
have to
in
have the focus online. You
yes,
have to be, you can tell if someone's not looking at the screen, and if you're looking at something else, you don't know what they're doing. They
yep,
might still be engaged in the game, but they're looking away, or they might not be engaged in the game. They might be looking at their phone or something.
yep.
So, whereas in person, like obviously, you don't just stare someone in the eyes for 3 hours in
Terrifying.
person because that would be creepy.
Well, it'd be very in keeping. But what I found in person was, even as the DM, who probably has the most interaction because you're most likely to be speaking to everyone, there were times where you as a group were role playing or planning, and I thought actually, because of where we played, your kitchen was right next to us. I could go get myself a drink. I could stretch my legs. Like I didn't feel that I couldn't do what I
Yeah,
needed to
yeah.
do because we're in the middle of a game, and everyone else was kind of up and down. And
It was more
what a difference that
freeform,
makes.
and you didn't need to. You didn't need to have that laser focus that you need to have online, which surprised me a bit
Yeah.
actually. And I guess it was just because it's easier, and also like you're up in the kitchen, but you can still hear what we're saying. You're
Yes.
not leaving the conversation, and we know that you can hear. Whereas online, it's like, oh, he's off camera. What's he doing? We don't know where he's gone.
Yes.
His headphones aren't in. And maybe if like we'd planned a whole weekend, maybe we're not comparing things right. So I guess maybe we should maybe talk about some of the 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 boons of online or the negative
Yes.
parts of playing in person. And I think one thing was like actually I think it's easier to block out time for in person. Maybe that, oh, I've got this wrong. I was meant to be saying something good about online. Anyway, if you say like what are you doing tonight, and you're got not, like I think going to it made it was more protected. So there was no interruptions in person.
Yes.
Whereas online, you're kind of just on a call. So there's other things happening in your house. There's pets,
Yes.
like there's so many other distractions going on. You see that in
Yes.
online teaching as well. Like when you're teaching
Yeah.
people online, there's often more distractions and stuff going on in the background that you're maybe not aware of. So it's harder to focus, even though more focus is required. Bandwidth, I think, is the term. But maybe in terms of the plus side of online is that it took us how long, like 6 months to get,
Yep.
the main thing was finding the dates and then transport for people and stuff. And we also were, had the luxury of having a space to play in and a lot of kit and 3D printed stuff. So just a lot more work in getting people in person. I think it's worth it, but it is,
Yes, it
online.
is.
There's no way we could play in person, even if we weren't so spread out that regularly. Like even if we were all in the one city, I think it would be really hard to get together once a week, which is kind of what we average, I think, between all the games.
Yeah.
To play, for 3 hours, that would be, I think, near impossible. Whereas if
Yeah, I
it's
think so.
booking, just you say like go online, like I can literally get in from work and 5 minutes later be on the game. I guess it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And it's a 3 hour block of time. It's
Yeah,
not, whereas actually, if I'm coming to your house for 3 hours, you've got transport before. Inevitably, if you see someone in person, you don't just come through the door and sit down and start playing a game.
yeah.
There's time and there's chat, and then at the end of the night, things roll on. So I think there's a sliding scale. But
Roll on's good pun. Yeah,
thank you. In person for a prolonged, completely blocked out period of time is probably the best and most immersive. The downside is it is the most difficult to schedule, which means it's the least likely to happen. All the way at the other end, you've got regular online sessions, which are sometimes require a bit more focus. They lack a certain social pleasure that you get from just being with other people, but they're easy to organize at short notice. They are very accommodating of everyone's life circumstances. They are, and this is worth saying, it is cheaper to play
yeah. I was
online.
thinking that. Yeah,
It's definitely cheaper. Now, a lot of what we did, you wouldn't have to do. So 3D printed minis, you wouldn't have to
no, you
3D
have to
print
do
minis.
that.
And it's required by law. You wouldn't have to 3D print minis. And we play a lot of miniature board games, so we have minis. But even if you had none, you could just use tokens. You could use anything.
Mm.
You don't need an interactive TV. I mean, the one you made, it was not particularly expensive, but you could just use paper. You could just do theatre of the mind. So it doesn't have to be expensive, but I think it is potentially more
Yeah,
expensive, and online is more accessible because if you have an internet connection, the core rules of a lot of role play games are free. The virtual tabletop systems like Roll20 are there's a base version which is free. You can get up and playing very quickly,
mm.
and you can play with people either that you don't know or that you do know but live far away.
Yeah,
It removes a lot of barriers that probably used to exist. And actually, I think if you to chart the development of role playing as a hobby, when you being able to play online came in, I imagine was one of the contributing factors to such a massive boom
yeah. That
because
makes sense.
you no longer were limited to basically people who are within walking or driving distance to play with. It could be like, well, some of the people we play with live literally hundreds of miles from us, but we can
Yeah,
still play once or
yeah.
twice a week with them.
That's brilliant. I guess one thing we can mention is that we have done hybrid. So we did hybrid game one time.
Yes.
James Lloyd joined from online. What did we play when we did that? I can't even remember what we did. Was it Alien?
Was it when we played the Star? We've not played an Alien game in person, have we? Was it Star Trek?
It was Star Trek. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Played the
played
Star
the
Trek
Star
one.
Trek role-playing game that Brendan DM'd, and we had the interactive. And that actually was another thing for doing the TV thing and running on Roll20 was that James joined online. We had our like microphone set up with the laptop, and I think it was like not as good for him as being in person, but it was not. He didn't have to travel hundreds of miles, and I think that worked pretty well actually because we all got the vibe of being in person, and he still got to be included.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. So that's another option. If you've got like maybe one or two people that can't make it, and then and Critical Role, I've done that on occasion. More in campaign 2, and Ashley was working away.
They've not done it as much recently, and I think they have said that some of the stuff we've talked about, the kind of table talk and there's a certain chemistry of being in person that you
Yeah,
miss online, and that you miss when one person has to kind of use video software to come in. If it needs to happen, it needs to happen, but I don't think it's ideal.
no,
I think one or other's probably better. Playing online is what let us all get into the hobby as a group, because of COVID, and actually is for us, I think, is kind of integral to our enjoyment of it. I would like us to plan ahead in-person sessions again and use them as a big kind of like celebration moment in our campaigns.
yeah,
So
let's do it.
we had we didn't complete the campaign, but it was like two huge pivotal near end game moments kind of happened across those sessions. It was so much more exciting in person.
Loved it.
It made it feel special.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I don't know. Have you got any other pros or cons that we haven't mentioned about in person or online?
I think something that's good for online, this goes partly back to cost, but also to sort of speed and ease. At the one end of the spectrum, you've got theatre of the mind, which in some ways is the best way of role playing because people's imaginations are the most powerful creative space. But if you are going to use maps or minis or images, you want them to be as good as they can be, which is why I favor a quality online one to one that I've drawn myself. And I would favor one by an artist to one I've done by myself. Online, there's so many free assets that you can get and just drop in, like good quality pictures or tokens that you can do super easily, all of which is more complicated on in
Yeah.
person.
I thought of one that I cannot believe we didn't mention first.
Oh,
I didn't even realize that I hadn't really done much of it, so I didn't realize the joy of it. Rolling dice.
yes.
So
Yes.
Stuart amazingly made dice trays for everybody, which are lovely. I know you're listening, Stuart, and they are just, I can't get over how nice they are.
They're absolutely beautiful. They're one of my favorite and probably most used gifts I've ever had.
It's so good. So we have a dice tray, and then I've got a selection of very nice dice. And my character was a blood hunter rogue and had lots of dice, and it was just the sheer joy of rolling a big handful of d6s whenever I rolled an attack. I was like, oh, this is great. So I think I might do that playing online. I'd been rolling from D&D Beyond because honestly the maths was quite complicated, and having never really played in person that much, I didn't realize how fun it was. So I think I'm going to switch to rolling dice. So maybe that's not something that you can't do online. Maybe that was more of a personal discovery. But certainly when I DM, I basically have all the monsters set up on Roll20, and then I just click, have it set up to auto do damage. So you like roll the attack and then you click a button. And it's like so easy to run. But you definitely lose something from that automation process.
Yes.
And I hadn't quite realized that before now. It was also really exciting to be like, oh, I rolled a natural 20 and there's someone sitting next to you and you can point at it. And
they can see it as well. And people, for pivotal roles, people often lean over, like they know it's important. They're waiting to see what happens.
We had one big D20, the critical role one. I was like, hello, the big dice.
It was fun as well doing, for me, behind the screen rolling, because there was a battle where you fought a very powerful spellcaster who cast Chain Lightning, which does huge amount of damage. And it meant I rolled a lot of dice all at once. And I could see on your faces the fear of hearing the number of dice that I was rolling.
Can I be really honest here? Right. I wasn't hit by the Chain Lightning either time. Right. And I completely missed one that you're rolling lots of dice and I didn't have any fear. That's just like This is my character. To just
That
not
is
pick
so
up on that at
character. You
all.
just be like,
So I
"No,
didn't notice
no."
that tension. I was just like, yeah, they're getting hit by chain lightning. That's fine. What's going on?
It was bad for the others. One of the
Really bad.
NPCs went unconscious 3 times in the same
Yeah,
battle.
he's terrible, terrible person. Oh, so many little in jokes developed from that, and that's maybe a good point to end on, which was that no, it's not.
Actually, there is
It's a terrible
one
point
final
to end
thing I
on.
wanted to say, and this is a bit kind of outside of AIM, but for those of you who are particularly into role-playing games are probably aware that D&D is going through another edition reinvention type thing called One D&D. One thing they're really keen to do, so you can already get D&D Beyond, which for those of you who don't know is a very well kitted out version of the D&D rules. You set up a character profile and it basically has everything online on you can do it on your tablet, your laptop. It's really cool. You can get a subscription to it. They are adding in a virtual tabletop, an official Dungeons and Dragons virtual tabletop, which will have all the rules built into it to kind of rival things like Foundry and
Roll20 and Roll20.
Fantasy Grounds, not Foundry. Yeah, Roll20. There's been an accusation that they're really trying to almost too video gamify it.
Yeah, they're spending a lot of time and effort making animations for spells and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't care about that. I'm honest.
Nor do I.
No.
So I think this is an interesting conversation. That I think what we've learned is, if possible, in person is the real joy of the game, and it harks back to original. Is there that the online is practical, and that's great and should be celebrated. But I would, if I was looking for my perfect game, it would be in person, not online.
And that will leave you with Josh's perfect game as we head out of this episode and into the next. So long. No emails except on party business. And comment suggestions and questions to thefellowshipphase@gmail.com. The long year turns to its close. Much we have accomplished these last seasons. Our fellowship disbands, but is not broken, and we will return
on the next episode of The Fellowship Phase.